Alright, welcome to my review for episode 20 and the final episode of Dragon Ball Daima. And to be honest with you, this episode kind of went quick. It was actually very fast paced because the first half was heavy action, and then the next half will be like the finale of Dragon Ball Daima. Did they end it right? I'll get into all of that in this review. So in this episode, we pick up where we left off, where Goku completed his transformation to Super Saiyan 4. And what happens is he starts powering up and he's still got that, that white aura around him. Now, as an adult, Goku is much stronger than Goma here because he's basically like this because if it wasn't for that third eye being so OP, he's basically overpowering him throughout this whole fight. He's overpowering him. Like, Goma can barely do anything to him. Like, he does get a few shots in here and there, but nothing too major. Look, Goku, there's a point where Goku kind of gets a bit out of breath, but that's about it. Everything else is pretty much Goku is dominating him in this fight. Like Goma, he actually tries absolutely everything. Like there is a point where they end up in the ground and they're kind of getting to that like dimensional shift kind of thing, and he tries to get him with these energy balls, but Goku dodges them all. But the last part, what happens is towards the end of this fight, Goku does a massive Kamehameha, and this Kamehameha, like they're getting into a beam struggle with this Kamehameha, and he obviously, now this does look like the 10 times Kamehameha, the one he did with Baby. The first time he did the 10 times Kamehameha, how it kind of spreads out. I kind of mentioned that in my last review, he kind of did, but this one actually looks much closer to the one in GT. But not the red one, just the one that kind of spreads out for where Goku's holding the Kamehameha, like the base, how it spreads out. The one he did, like I mentioned, like the one he did against Baby, the one that had the delayed attack. If guys have seen the episode. Anyway, he does a Kamehameha like they get into a beam struggle, and Goku puts his whole power into it, and he beats the beam struggle, and it actually goes. Here's the thing. Now, this animation is beautiful, by the way. It actually goes completely through Goma, like it completely goes through his chest, and then it goes through the sky into the next demon realm, and then the next demon, like it literally pieces through the entire demon realm. This Kamehameha, which by the way, this Kamehameha must be completely OP, like because it literally ripped through like almost the whole of the demon realm. So you made like a new hole for them in a sense. So. Yeah, pretty good animation, and it's a very powerful Kamehameha. And what happens is that because of the third eye, Goma, he actually starts to heal. Because that third eye is so powerful, man. It's so OP, it starts to heal him. Now, at this point, everybody else decides to jump in. And I want to use that distraction so Piccolo can hit him at the back of the head 3 times, right? So, so they can get the third eye out. So that's what happens. So Piccolo jumps in, he hits him once, twice. But before he can actually get the third hit in, Goma actually hits him, smacks him away, so they actually failed. But what happens is that when he repels everybody that are next to him, Majin Ku actually manages to get behind him with the book, and he hits him 3 times, and that's how they get the Demon Eye out. And that's pretty much how Goma loses. So it was actually because of Majin Ku hitting him 3 times at the back of the head, and yeah, that's how the third eye comes out, and Goma, he starts going back to normal. So when the third eye actually falls out of his forehead and lands on the ground, it actually lands near Gloria. And Gloria, without hesitation, he basically steps on, like he crushes the third eye, right? So he basically breaks it so it cannot be used again, right? And Goma, he returns to normal and they tie him up. Now, this next part I actually found quite interesting because this is a throwback back to Dragon Ball. Because what happens here is that what they do with Goma and Degasu when they're tied up, they actually use the evil containment wave to seal him in a bottle, to seal them both in a bottle, and to because they're gonna get imprisoned, right? Like I can't remember how long they said. I think they said I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. I actually forgot, but they're gonna seal them for a certain amount of time, and they're gonna let them go after a certain time. And yeah, that's basically what they did to them. So that is a throwback back to Dragon Ball. When they used the evil containment to seal the evil King Piccolo, and they also used it in Dragon Ball Super to seal away, to try to seal away Zamasu, but that kind of failed. But yeah, they used it here, and yeah, so they sealed them up, and so they're gonna be imprisoned. And after that, what happens is that so now the Demon needs a new king. And basically the Supreme Guy said, Arinsu, why don't you take it? Why don't you become the next Demon King? And she basically refuses because she believes because of her power, her current power, she could be easily overthrown. And they decide is that whoever defeated Goma should be the next Demon King. And yeah, so Majin Q is gonna be the next Demon King. And then he manifests, you know, that cape, the Demon King cape. He puts that on, like he manifests it on him. And then he names Arinsu his second in command because she's the one that created him and she deserves the spot. That's what he says. And then he names, you know, Majin Du as the next one. And then after he starts naming all the ambassadors, he pretty much names almost everybody an ambassador. But after that, when he turns to Goku and his team, I think he tried to make them ambassadors, but Goku said, "Nah, I'm going home. I'm done with the demon realm. I'm going home." And yeah, so basically that's what happens. And the Supreme Kai, he actually says, you know, Majin Q is actually good for this job. You know, he's good at it. And obviously under his rule, the Demon Realm is in good hands. So yeah, he's the best to be Demon King. So basically they acknowledge him and then, you know, they try to say their goodbyes almost. But what happens here is that we cut to a conversation between Goku and Vegeta. Now, Vegeta here mentions is that, hey, Kakarot, you were hiding that transformation, weren't you? Now, what's interesting here is that Goku actually says yeah, he was aware of the transformation, but he couldn't transform into it, but he was aware of it after the fight with Majin Buu. Now, it's kind of weird that he couldn't get to the transformation, but anyway, it is what it is. And yes, we do get the official name of the transformation, and yes, it is going to be called Super Saiyan 4. That's what he says. Super Saiyan, you know, 4. So yeah, because of this, what they mentioned here is that I don't know how this is going to connect to Super, but I'll get to that a little bit later. So after that, we cut to like basically they're packing up and they're getting ready to leave. But Goku, he actually wants to go and visit where he got the bugs from, you know, the healing bugs. He wants to buy more revival bugs. So they go to the place and they enter the shop. Now, what happens here, what's interesting here is that Pansy, she finds a very old jar in the store, somewhere at the back of the store. Not at the back of the store, but somewhere where, you know, customers don't really touch because it's all dusty. She picks up like a jar, and lo and behold, there are another 2 evil third eyes in his jar. And even the shopkeeper actually says, yeah, there used to be 3, but I sold the other one centuries ago. So everybody's like freaked out, like, dude, they're selling this thing at a shop? And so everybody's basically freaked out. And that's where the episode, actually, that's the end credit scene, but that's where the whole show ends. So it kind of ends in a cliffhanger. So yeah, so we're definitely going to get a story in the Demon Realm again, probably involving these 2 third eyes. Now, I actually don't know how they're going to connect this with Dragon Ball Super, because there's a lot of story points and like the transformations as well that don't kind of make sense in Dragon Ball Super because they never use those forms. Now, I gotta mention stuff because I've seen this a lot of discussions about this now, especially on social media. The problem is with Dragon Ball is that there's always been retcons. So they can make it, they could, I'm just saying here, is they could say, you know, in Dragon Ball Super, maybe they just don't use the forms because they'd say, because you know how Goku fought Beerus on King Kai's planet, it goes, oh, maybe they're going to make an excuse where, I didn't have time to transform into it. Like, even though there is some conflicting stuff that they say. But yeah, Dragon Ball does know to do that. Yeah, I don't know. Because I know there's a lot of people saying that maybe this is another timeline. And they're basically saying that Super's not canon anymore, now Daima is. And guys, I think actually, you know what? Geekdom 101, if you guys know who he is, a shout out to him too. He's actually mentioned this before, and I do agree with him as well. Guys, when it comes to canon in Dragon Ball, don't worry about it so much because the Japanese do not give a shit about canon. They don't. I'll give you one example. Take Pokemon, for example. Tell me which Pokemon story is canon. Because you got the games doing their own thing, you have the anime doing their own thing, you have other spin-off projects that are doing their own thing. Like, what's canon in that? Like, you might say, oh yeah, but it might be the games, you know, the versions. But the thing is that they call that the core series. They don't call it the canon series. And they call the anime series. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think you guys shouldn't care about the canon. So it might be a different timeline, maybe, but it might be still connected to Super. We're just going to have to wait and see what they actually say. and how they're going to deal with all of this, and how they're going to deal with, how they're going to explain like why they didn't use these certain transformations and what it is, because we could get like a retcon as well. You know what I'm saying? So that could actually happen. So when it comes to all the canon stuff, don't even try to figure it out, because there's actually no point. And because I'm seeing like a lot on social media, a lot of people are fighting over the whole canon stuff, but don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Because they retcon things, they change things, and yeah, there's no point of discussing canon. So yeah, going back to my review. So overall, it was a good episode. It was a bit fast paced, but it was a good episode. I do prefer. I think that last episode was a bit better than this one, but it was a good episode. Very good animation, and because now that the series has ended, if I take the series as a whole, yeah, beautifully animated. I think the pacing was not bad. It was not bad. It wasn't perfect, but not too bad. The story they told was pretty good. Like I did like the series. Like I loved it. So I definitely recommend it. So if you're not seeing Dragon Ball Daima for any reason, yeah, go watch that. Spread it to your friends. Hopefully, we're obviously going to get more Dragon Balls, so we wouldn't have to worry about that. Actually, another thing that I was kind of confused about is that we actually did not get the fusion bug fusion. Like it was completely forgotten about. Like they were hyper, they were like teasing like through the episode that we're gonna get fusion with the fusion bugs, but yeah, that nothing came of that. Like Goku lost the bag, and that was it. Like yeah, so the fusion bugs weren't even used. So that was a weird choice that they decided to do that. But yeah, I think they're saving that for our future stories. So yeah, like nothing came of the fusion bugs, which is a bit disappointing. But yeah, that's what they decided to do. So anyway, that's enough from me. Like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. And yeah, thank you for watching.